In this video, we're going to review the picture quality of the LG BX or B10 OLED TV. Is there much difference from the slightly more expensive CX or C10? Let's find out. Hello everyone, this is Hdr from HG TV Test here. The LG BX is equipped with the company's Alpha 7 Generation 3 chipset, which is codenamed K6HP if you look in the service menu. It is a 4K OLED television, and because OLED is self-emissive, every single pixel can be turned on and off independently of each other, allowing the LG BX to render true black, which in turn serves as an ideal canvas for colors to pop. From our experience, how an OLED TV handles the first steps coming out of black is what separates one OLED model from another, and the near black performance of the LG BX or B10 was not the best, which is hardly surprising considering its step-down picture processor and entry-level price point. On this moving quantization test pattern developed by Stacy Spears of Spears & Mansell fame, our LG BX or B10 review sample exhibited coarser gradation and more near-black flashing artifacts than the LG CX or C10, which also manifested in heavily compressed real-world content, such as this beat-starved broadcast of Game of Thrones. Surprisingly, in this scene from the 1080p Blu-ray of Gravity, the top and bottom letterbox bars flashed intermittently on our review unit. The flashing was fleeting, so if you even have the slightest amount of ambient light in your room, you probably won't see it. But thankfully, we didn't spot it on other CinemaScope films we've watched on the television. Our LG BX review sample did not calibrate as well as the LG CX or GX, with the main culprit being an oversaturated red primary. After calibration, average delta error settled at 1.3 on this challenging color checker SG chart, where 140 color patches were measured, with several inaccuracies spiking more than 6 due to the oversaturated red primary. When sampling film material, most colors, including skin tones, still looked natural, but as borne out by the charts, red could appear overpowering from time to time, though most owners probably won't be able to tell the difference outside a side-by-side comparison against a reference display. Before proceeding, this video is sponsored by UK electrical retailer Crampton & Moore. If you are thinking about buying a new television, even if it's not the LG BX, please support this channel by considering buying from them. Call 0113 244 6607, mention HDTV Test, and you will receive great price and service. Thanks again for your support. Right, with True Motion disabled, motion resolution came in at the sample and hold baseline of 300 lines. Engaging True Motion would more than double the motion resolution to 650 lines, and depending on the OLED Motion Pro setting, which activates 120Hz black frame insertion or BFI, motion resolution could even go up to 1080 lines and beyond. Note that OLED Motion Pro High applies full black frame insertion at 60Hz, causing visible flicker, so it's best not to set it too high. Generally, the True Motion frame interpolation on the BX or B10 was more prone to introducing the odd frame skipping or interpolation artifacts, as you can see near the top of this motion resolution test pattern. Like other 2020 LG OLEDs, overscan could be disabled for standard definition content. Upscaling was decent, but softer than the CX with some junk pixels, overshoot and fizziness. Even with the latest firmware update of 3.21.10 installed at the time we filmed this video in January 2021, our LG BX review unit manifested extreme jaggies in this video-based deinterlacing test pattern from the HQV benchmark disk, which could only be eradicated by turning off Real Cinema, indicating that the film mode deinterlacing component within Real Cinema was too aggressive. Now, disabling Real Cinema permanently is not a good workaround, because Real Cinema is necessary for not only correct detection of 3.2 and 2.2 cadences in interlaced film-based material, but also application of 5.5 pull-down to prevent telecinic judder in 24 frames per second movies. Because of this, the best solution is just to send progressive video signal from your sources to the LG BX so the TV doesn't need to do any deinterlacing at all. Like the LG Nano 90 nanocell TV, the BX exhibited some corruption of the finest chroma detail in this 1080p pattern from the Spears & Munsell HD benchmark disc, which dynamically reacted to changes happening in other parts of the screen. As can be expected from 2020 OLEDs, bright uniformity was excellent. Our review sample did not show any signs of banding, dirty screen effect or color tinting on full-field gray slides. Like all consumer WRGB OLEDs, dark uniformity took a turn for the worse, with thin vertical streaks and mild vignetting along the sides, visible on a 5% gray slide in a pitch black room. For HDR, peak brightness measured 570 nits on a 10% window after calibration to D65 white point, and 125 nits full fill. Both figures are slightly lower than what we measured from the LG 55CX. DCI-P3 color gamut coverage came in at 95% UV, whereas Rec 2020 coverage was 72%. OLED's pixel-level light control meant that HDR presentation looked refined and free of any blooming or haloing artifacts, but bright HDR scenes appeared marginally less impactful than those rendered by the CX. The challenging fade-in from black transition from the opening sequence in The Revenant revealed the subpar near-black gradation on the LG BX, leading to a blotchy, jarring appearance. Otherwise, engaging dynamic tone mapping preserved more specular highlight detail and color saturation in 4000 nit HDR movies, but would also brighten the shadows and midtones in other middling scenes. So in the interest of faithfully reproducing the creator's intent, we would generally refrain from using dynamic tone mapping on LG OLEDs. The smooth gradation decontouring filter worked well to reduce the posterization in the sky of The Martian, although be aware that it will also scrub away some fine detail, so we would only use smooth gradation for less than pristine content. We checked out Mindhunter in Dolby Vision on Netflix and didn't see floating blacks in the end credits or any significant near-black posterization in the preceding segments. For gaming, input lag in game mode measured 17 milliseconds at 60 Hz, improving to a super responsive 7 milliseconds at 120 Hz. ALLM and VRR are supported, though only two HDMI inputs, namely HDMI 3 and HDMI 4, are HDMI 2.1 ports with a full HDMI 2.1 bandwidth of 48 gigabits per second, as verified using the EDIT reader on the excellent Muridio 7G signal generator. We measured peak brightness in HDR game mode to be 550 nits, which is not too different from the numbers generated by other non-game picture presets. However, there's some strange wonkiness during the roll-off with HGiG engaged, causing the HDR calibration patterns on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X to be presented in a non-linear fashion. This bizarre HGiG behavior may mislead LG BX owners to set the in-console max tone map luminance or max TML metadata too bright, resulting in clipped highlight detail and increased posterization in brighter areas on screen. To avoid these problems, we strongly suggest aiming for 800 nits either in the HGiG calibration screens or inside the game, since that's where the HGiG tone curve on LG OLEDs starts rolling off. This way, you get the brightest specular highlights for your television without losing highlight detail or incurring additional posterization. Before wrapping up, there are two other things not related to picture quality I want to mention. 1. The menus felt a bit more sluggish to navigate compared with the CX, probably due to the slower processor. 2. The tabletop stand supplied with the BX has a smaller footprint than that of the CX, which may appeal to those with a narrower AV rack. Let's sum up. The LG BX is a solid OLED TV, but as you can see throughout this technical review, it has numerous minor flaws which are not present on the step-up CX OLED. LG's stock strategy for its B-series OLED has been consistent over the past few years. The C-series OLED would hit store shelves in spring, then the B-series OLED would be released in the second half of the year, by which time the C-series OLED would have dropped in price, making the price difference close to negligible, at least for the 55-inch model. At the time we published this video in January 2021, the 55-inch CX cost only 1 to 200 pounds more than the 55-inch BX, and so the CX would be our recommendation over the BX. Despite what other reviews which don't pay close attention to detail may say, the LG CX is superior to the BX in many areas of picture quality, and will continue to be prioritized in future firmware developments due to its more advanced chipset. Like Prince Harry, the BX unfortunately won't gain as much support as its more well-revered sibling. If you would like to watch some of our other OLED TV reviews, I've created a playlist here, and for our technical OLED comparisons, please click here for another playlist, and I will see you in the next video.